is going on, guys? It has been a minute, but as you guys know, it's your boy Player X here with the Semi Limited Podcast. Just thank you guys for another episode, for you guys tuning in and listening to the ramblings of a 30 something year old man playing a children's card game. Apologies for the little hiatus. My life's definitely been getting pulled in a multiple directions, if I would say, just because of the short amount of time that I have, and I've got a lot of things going on with my music, and like my truck's been messing up for a while. That's been taking a lot of money and time away from me. So I've kind of let the podcast fall to the wayside for the last couple weeks, and I really wanted to say that not only am I sorry for that because I didn't really realize how important it was to most of you guys, because a lot of you guys have been reaching out, asking where the pod has been at for the last few weeks and whatever. If I'm all good, if I still alive and whatever. Yeah, I'm still good and everything like that. As alive as I can be. But we are going through it, so I decided I'm going to strap in and force myself to power through all this stuff I got going on just to make sure I get these episodes going back onto you guys. So in today's episode, we're going to be going over what we missed over these last few weeks at the NA Nationals and in the EU Nationals, as well as how info and any of the other staple cards for this format have shaped up and influenced us as we continue on. Now that we're all kind of familiar with how this format is shaping up. But before all that, let's get into some of these sponsored plugins. I know you guys miss hearing them. Please go to that Linktree link down in the description box below to follow all of our social sites. We will continue to be doing giveaways on all of our sites, whether it's TikTok or Twitter, IG, Discord, YouTube, doesn't really matter. Be sure to be a part of all of those followings and social medias. And you will be alerted when we hit certain goals, when we'll be doing a giveaway, which is free to enter. So that way you can just find out what it is. Usually we have you guys interact with something, and then you guys can just be a part of that. And then we usually do a drawing, and someone wins something for free, whether it be maybe cards or maybe accessories, some merchandise. Never quite know with the Semi Limited Podcast, so be sure to be following all of our sites to be up to date with that. Also, shout outs to Unplugged Gaming in Manlius, New York for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to join their Discord server in the description box below to be a part of their TCG communities. You can be a part of the Locana game that's come in, like grabbing so much hype from all these players. Maybe it's Magic is more your taste. Hey, if it's on cardboard, they got it there at the store. Or on their Discord, you can be a part of all the TCG communities there. And if you find someone that you want to trade with or might want to play with in store, if you do wind up popping up by, just tell them that the boys over in Semi Limited Podcast sent you, and they'll be sure to definitely hook you guys up. Also, be sure to catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His Twitch will also be in our Linktree link down below. So you can go down there, click on it, and be a part of all the action going on. He's usually deck theorying or crafting, maybe play testing or finding out what's going on with the meta, maybe do some discussion with you guys. Never quite know. But be sure to catch him every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then find out yourself. Now that all that is out of the way, let's get into today's episode. I didn't want to be too crazy. Just wanted to go ahead and recap some of the tournament things that we've got going on in the analytical part of the last few weeks, and then later on this week we're going to get into more of the drama and the... But now that that's all gone, let's start off with the NA Nats that took place a few weeks ago. We started off the event in Austin, Texas this year with 2,635 players, all trying to compete and earn their spot for Team North America to be represented for the North American side for the 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships that will be held in Seattle this year. Of all places, I don't know why they're doing it in Seattle, in the United States, but whatever. What do we know? But the event was a 2-day ordeal, with many players being pushed to their peak to try and shine in the cusp of a new format that was upon us. For most who don't know or were unknowing of the time that info has released, was the weekend for our NAWCQ, and it was legal for that event. So everyone were getting the cards, or at least rushing to get the cards, and playing with the cards for the first time at the first really big event for that national season. So it was kind of interesting to see like how people were going to be adapting. Are they going to be like capped out money wise, or even maybe quantity of cards wise? Maybe supply and demand. There was an imbalance in the chart, and someone couldn't get their cards, or had to scramble or pay even more to go get them because of the supply and demand. increase. But going into the day, there was a 28% cut of Snake Eyes, 15% cut for Tenpai, 10% cut for Yubel, 3% cut for Kashtiro, Labyrinth, Runic, Sprite, Branded, Ritual Beast, and Voiceless Voice. And then that would be leaving the last 30% in the room playing Rogue for the entirety of the day. So out of all of those 2,600 plus duelists, about 28% of them were on Snake Eyes, 15 on Tenpai, and 10 on Yubel. So that's like what, like at least 58, 59, 60% of the room being on some sort of like meta relevant deck, with a bunch of the other ones kind of coming in like close second hand ish type deal. But after 9 rounds, brutal rounds at that, of Swiss on day 1, with a couple more rounds on day 2 before cutting the top 64, they ended with our top cut breakdown looking like the following. So for top 64, we had 30 Snake Eye players, or 47%. We had 13 Tenpai players, or 20%. We had 9 Yubel players, or 14%. We had 3 Stun players, shout out to Johnny, aka Asian Persuasion, or 5% of the breakdown was Stun players, being Runic in some way, shape, or form, probably. 2 of the Ritual Beast players also making up 3%. 2 Gimmick Puppet players making up 3%, and then the rest of the remaining players are as other or playing some sort of other different strategy. Another notable piece of data from this top cut that we can see, at least from the top 64, is that there were 31 Snake Eye players that topped and 33 non-Snake Eye players that topped, meaning that Snake Eyes basically took up like 50% of the brackets, like no matter how you wanted to slice it, or maybe the representation of the room was there, but the conversion rate was definitely crazy high. I know it's not enough to call it tier 0 still, because I think it has to be like 65% or more, if I'm not mistaken, for it to be like a tier 0 thing or whatever. But I mean, it still felt like it to me, and I was still watching all the games immensely, and like there was a bunch of mirror matches going on, so like it's still maybe be 50% or 55%. It may not be the exact 65 for tier 0, but I think we're still there. And I think another notable little tidbit too was that there was also 40 decks in the top 64 that were using the Snake Eye engine in Top Cut as well. So that's a little over 62% of all the players in Top Cut in some way, shape, or form had Light Fiends in their decks that were competing. And that's nasty work if you ask me, for sure. But moving on to the top 32, we moved down to 14 Snake Eye players with 7 Tenpai, 4 Yubel, 2 Runic, and 1 Branded Ritual Beast and Lab player left to duke it out. We then cut over to top 16 cuts it down even further than that with 8 Snake Eyes, 3 Tenpai, 3 Yubel, 1 Runic Stun, and 1 Branded player, which leaves our top 8 as 5 Snake Eyes, 2 Yubel, and the 1 lone Tenpai player, trying to hold on to it all as they try to attain their goal, basically with it right on the cusp of being there. All of this leading to a heated finals between Adia and Michael Thomas, who clashed it out with a Snake Eye Fiendsmith mirror match to determine who the best North American player was this year. And throughout it all, it looks like Adia came on top, and he won his match against Mr. Michael, and basically crowned himself as the North American winner and the, basically I top Nats. So congrats to him and his stellar run at Nats for sure. But moving on to the other side of the globe, it looks like EU also had their nationals as well. It was like a week after ours, and it looking like a lot how the NA ones did. Like the EU Nats were rampant with Fiendsmith just as much as the North American one, and from Smith, from decks like Fiendsmith Yubel and Snake Eyes to even Fiendsmith Magical Muskets making an appearance as well. The day 1 breakdown for the EU WCQ is as followed: 24% Snake Eyes Fiendsmith, 10% Tenpai, 9% Yubel Fiendsmith, 6% Runic, 3% Ritual Beast, Branded, and Memento, so 3% in all of those decks, and then 42% other for the nameless decks that were in the room. All this converted into a top cut of basically the top 64 best duelists going at it, and this is what the field looked like then. So when we cut over from the whole process of the everyone in the entire day to just the top 64, we have 49% Snake Eyes, 14% Tempai. We have 12 Yubel, 6 Ritual Beasts, and 6 Runic. 3% was Memento, and then 10% being any other deck that was just competing that wasn't those, which eventually led to a top 16 of was it 10 Snake Eyes, 3 Tempai, 1 Yubel, 1 Rescue Ace Fiendsmith, and then 1 Ritual Beast. And although this tournament's finals turned out a little bit different than the NA's finals did, whereas there was no Snake Eyes in the finals, or I think the semifinals, shockingly. So instead, there was a Tenpai Dragon dueling against a Ritual Beast player for the showdown to display who's the second-rate deck was best, because I guess all the Snake Eye players eliminated themselves from contending. So Awanda being Esteban going basically, what do we call it, payphoning his way to victory, piloting Tenpai as one of the glorious pilots he showed himself to be. Though he swiftly 2-0'd his opponent with nothing but engine and board breakers, which is just hilarious to watch. For those that don't know, payphoning is basically when you kind of just take your brain out of the equation and just kind of like let the helmet kind of ride through. You don't really have to think too much because your plays are all planned out. For those who are watching, the Ritual Beast player was kind of comboing for a long amount of time, and you see that he's kind of just standing there. Esteban just doesn't really like show too much emotion, and then the first thing he would do would be like activate a Raigeki or activate a Lightning Storm or activate a Dark or a Droplet or something like that. Or even maybe activate Lightning and then follow it up with a Raigeki and then normal summon Pydra right behind it. It was hilarious to watch him. I gotta break these. His opponent's taking like 5 to 10 minutes to combo, and in like 30 seconds he broke the entire board. It's kind of funny to watch. But also to note from the EU stream was just how enticing the streams actually were. I'm very big advocate for EU streams, and they didn't let me down this time as well. They included the analytical side of the duel and even brought in like highlight breakdowns where they interviewed the player at like pivotal points in the duel to try to like pick their brains on how they decided to make their moves and like what plays what they were thinking of in their head, or like how they were going about breaking down the situation, which I really kind of admired. Like it's good to have, I guess, the insight of the players going at it like right then and there, because you never quite know how it's going to like be like outside. Like if you don't hear them talk about why they're doing the moves they do, then sometimes you can kind of like be left in the dark as to when the best time to do those moves are and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for like the little analytical parts like that. So that was really like keen on me. I did enjoy watching it, like those little things that they kind of do to kind of make the time go by not only a little bit faster, but like a little bit more entertaining, I guess, because it's you're not just watching people walk around a room for like, you know, an hour in between rounds. So kudos to the EU stream team, because I just love how it was. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing it and love to see it implemented. Maybe hopefully the US will get better on our streams and be able to join the brethren over there and the European counterparts. But alas, I don't think it'll be anytime soon, because either we just don't care about the way our streams are, even just the way it was formatted was just really weird this time around. I don't know. I just think that they need a whole another rundown to like basically change it up. But one more thing before we close out today's episode. Like I said, I wanted this to just be short. We'll briefly talk about some of the things going on, and then we'll touch up on more of the recent things later on this week. But one last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight was the amount of staple cards that everyone used at these tournaments and were playing, and how much they were playing, how popular these cards actually were. Between both WCQs, these staples turn out to be the most iconic or impactful, most used, popular for the players attending. We have in first place SP Little Knight at 6%, so all 6% of all players are playing it. Then we have Ash Blossom at 6%, Infinite and Permanent at 5.7%, Nibiru at 5.5%, Bystial Magnemite at 4.3%, Droll and Lockbird at 4.1, Effect Veiler at 4.1, Cross-Out Designator 3.8, Bystial Druid's Worm 3.3, Triple Tactics Talents 3.3, Cosmic Cyclone 3.1, Forbidden Droplet 2.9, Harpy's Feather Duster 2.9, Call by the Grave 2.9, Skill Drain 2.4, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit 2.1, Rivalry Warlords 1.7, Prod of Prosperity being a 1.4. That's kind of interesting. The Different Dimension Barrier being 1.2, Solemn Judgment being a clean 1%, and then the less than 1% being Change of Heart at 0.2%, and Destructive Daruma Karmic Cannon at another 0.2%. So these are the top cards that were being cited for those events. And it's crazy to see how some of them have risen, and it's even crazy to see if some of them have fallen. So it's out of the top 5 hand traps that or people are playing, being Ash Blossom, Imperm, Nibiru, Magnuma, and Droll, we now see Abyssal once again in the top 5 of the best hand traps to be played right now. I know it also comes alongside things like Druid Worm or Battle Drake, which also saw a lot of competitive play those couple weekends, as well as interest outside of it, as being a really good backup card for the Magnum to be able to search out, or at least in tandem with it. But it was also just crazy to see how other cards have fallen down, like the playing of Harpy's Feather Duster in the side are okay, but some people were choosing to main that as well, especially the Tenpai players. Call by the Grave being down there underneath things like Tactics, I think was crazy. I think that Call by would be a little bit better. You would want to stop your opponent's effects instead of trying to play through them. Cosmic Cyclone doesn't surprise me, but Cosmic Cyclone over Forbidden Droplet does surprise me a little bit. Even to see cards like Pot of Prosperity fall down to 1.7% of all decks are playing it. That used to be a staple 3 of in almost every single topping deck. And if you weren't playing Pot of Prosperity, you were basically not being consistent. And it seems like we have moved on past those in the bigger, better days. But it is also still shocking that SP Little Knight is the most played staple going on into these, I guess, post Nats format going into Worlds. I wonder how they plan on taking these hits going on to the ban list that we're going to get into TCG, because I don't know if that ban list is going to affect the Worlds list, because I know that we get the lowest number of whatever list that we're getting at for Worlds. So let's say a card like Max C is at 3 in the OCG, but at 0 in the TCG. When you play for Worlds, it'll be at the lowest number, which is at 0. So it'll be banned for the Worlds, while other cards are maybe Fenrir's, I think, is at 1 over the OCG, and it's at 3 for the TCG. You'll be able to play 1 Fenrir for Worlds because it's the lowest number between both lists. So that sometimes makes a little bit of a difference between it, but I do want to see how those ban lists will interfere with the Worlds list, because our ban list, as most people don't know, we should be getting at the end of December. So probably in the next couple weeks or so, I would say probably about 2 to 3, maybe 3 being the longest period. I would highly doubt they make us wait 4 weeks going into the end of the next month. That'd be crazy, but you never really quite know. But it's crazy to see this list like this when you put it in writing and just look at it, because I'm just so used to seeing these cards flying around that I often forget how much and how often they really do be sending them and how much they really are flying around. And how about, are there any staple cards that you guys think I may have missed or didn't see noted, or maybe you've seen in maybe a stream or so that you didn't think that we maybe caught? Be sure to comment that down below and let us know so we can add them onto the next episode as well. But with that being said, guys, like I said, I just wanted to be a short episode coming through, talking to you guys briefly, let you guys know what happened at the Nationals tournament. A bunch of our guys from Syracuse went down there. No one day 2'd, unfortunately, but they did say that they went out there in Austin at that night and had a good time, ate a bunch of barbecue, got drunk with the friends, basically turned up and had a good time for the entirety of the trip. So no one had a bad thought or a bad experience out there. So kudos to all of them for going out there having fun. I know a couple winning mats were won, a couple regional flights and whatnot, so we'll be already ready to go for next year. And we actually aren't even stopping down for the rest of the season. We still have regional seasons kicking right back up. We have Sacramento for the YCS coming up shortly. We have Bologna, our YCS coming back up. So we got a lot of events to be covering up there. Before we go close out, because we're running out of life points, guys, just a reminder, be sure to click on that Linktree link down below. You can see all of our social sites. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever it is you guys want to do. Just be a part of all those communities down there. And speaking of community, be sure to join the Discord for our sponsors over there at Unplug Gaming. You can go down in the description box and click on that link to be a part of their TCG communities as well. And you can also catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming every Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch, and his link will also be down in the description box in our link tree as well. Reminder just to let you guys know that, like I said, we're talking about the analytical side of the last couple weeks today, and then later on this week for Friday, we're going to be talking about more of the drama side of going on. A lot of people be quitting lately. People have been complaining about the game, maybe the format. We're going to be going to dig into all of that. Before we start getting into opinions, I just wanted to get into the facts. So without any further ado, I am Player X. You've been listening to the Semi Limited podcast. Thank you so very much for listening, and good night.